Welcome back. Today we have an A1 AM-3016. It's basically a Cortec in disguise here. This is a 25-inch monitor, and as we see from the tag here, it says playing blind. So I guess that means it's dead. Now I have to, in full disclosure, this was super dirty. So before I really even did anything to it, I completely cleaned it and washed it, and I'll cut in some pictures of how it was before and after. So I'll cut those in right now. When I come back, we'll discuss it a bit more here. Okay, so after cleaning it and inspecting it, I noticed a couple of things. The fuse holder here is broken, and it's got what looks like a 3 amp fuse in here, which seems way too high. I don't know what the correct rating should be, but it's got a 3 amp fuse in here, and the holder is broken. You can see here that so I have to replace this holder, and the other fuse, the secondary fuse, is actually here in the side. And if we open it up here, you can see that it's in a little holder here, and this fuse is another 3 amp fuse. So let's simply put this back in here. There we go. It sits right in there, little holder. It says fuse, kind of handy. We'll have to fix this one, but no big deal. So we'll set that fuse aside. And I also noticed that knowing that this is playing blind meant it most likely is dead, so I checked the 2 fuses, and the 2 fuses are actually good. The problem is our voltage regulator is shorted. Now, how the voltage regulator can short and not take out the 2 fuses, I don't know. Probably they might be overrated, I can't say, but the voltage regulator is shorted. Right here is our voltage regulator. It's a different type of transistor than I'm used to showing on the channel. And the HOT is this guy right here. But the easiest, like I say, the easiest way to test to make sure if your voltage regulator is shorted, regardless of what kind of voltage regulator you have, the easiest way is to go to your B+ resistor. In this case, this B+ resistor is supposed to read 220 ohms. If we look here, you can clearly see 220 ohms. And if we actually check the resistor, it reads, come on, there you go, 0.9. So that's the real way that you check that. It's just off of or I guess not the easiest way to check that is off the resistor. But to check it the correct way, we go to our diode setting here. You take your negative lead and you touch the case of the transistor. So basically I'm going to be touching the metal case of the transistor. And then we touch each of the 2 legs. There's a leg right here, and there's a leg right here. These 2 legs of the transistor, these are the 2 screws that hold it in place to the frame. And then these are the 2 legs for our 2 sides of, or our collector and emitter. I don't know if it's base collector emitter or base emitter collector. I'm too lazy to look it up, but it doesn't ultimately matter. We'll put our lead on the metal frame of the transistor there, and we'll go to leg number 1 here. Come on. There we go. We'll touch the leg with the red wire, and we got a short. We'll touch the leg with the black wire, and we got a short. So that's how you test that. It should read, I think, probably like 0.5 voltage drop to one leg and 0.15 voltage drop to the other leg, if I'm not mistaken. It's like 0.5 to one and 0.15 to the other leg. But we'll figure that out later. And of course, we have what looks like our B+ adjustment pot is right there, and it's all glued shut, so you can't adjust it. But it's odd that we wouldn't have either of these two fuses go out, because they're probably overrated, to be honest. That would explain why the voltage regulator got taken out without taking a fuse out. So let's test our HOT, which is, again, this guy right here. And if we go to the 3 legs for that, which should be right here, these 3 here, if we go negative to the center, like any other HOT, and we test each leg, the HOT is shorted as well. So we got a bad HOT and a bad voltage regulator. We know what that means. Look at our flyback. All of the magic juice has come out, melted the case, probably arced right to the frame, and destroyed our HOT and destroyed our voltage regulator. Fun times, fun times. So we have to replace the flyback, the voltage regulator, and the HOT. I have no idea. Oh, and then our vertical IC is actually under this thing right here. Under there is our vertical IC. Hard to make out. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and out on a limb and say that our destroyed flyback here is what caused all of our problems. So fortunately, I actually have a flyback that should work. It's rather dirty, but this came out of a Cortec T&E chassis, which should be a direct drop-in replacement for this one. I mean, for as far as I can tell, it should be a drop-in replacement. So we're going to try and use this one. But before I do that, we have a lot of issues to take care of. Mainly, the remote pot here has a degauss switch, which is very nice, but it's not a momentary switch. It's either on or off. I wish it was a momentary switch where it would rock back. You know, you go on and it would rock back itself, but it's a 2-position switch. So we can get stuck in on, but it doesn't matter because it wasn't even powering up. But then someone replaced this vertical size pot with one that I guess is compatible, but it's very wonky. Obviously, it wasn't like this from the factory. Someone replaced this pot with one that I guess will work. If I was a betting man, I'd say it runs backwards. So, but not a big deal, and this just goes right there. But it's off to be out of our way for the moment. So what we're going to have to do is first replace this fuse holder, remove our voltage regulator, remove our HOT, and remove our... sorry, I think I'm zoomed in too far. We'll have to replace our fuse holder, remove the voltage regulator, remove the HOT, remove the flyback, and then I'll cut away for all that, and I'll come back with them removed, and we'll test them again out of circuit just to verify. And then something else, though, is that this has a RIFA cap. If you're not familiar with what a RIFA cap is, they're basically just ticking time bombs. R-I-F-A-C, RIFA. These capacitors here are just filter caps that go in line with the AC input. Let's zoom out a bit again, sorry. Here's our AC input, are these 2 lines right here. And one goes across to this leg right there, which is this leg of the fuse, I'm sorry, this leg of the RIFA cap is right here, which runs right to our AC input. The other one goes through the fuse and right to here, which is the other leg of that RIFA cap here. So it's just a filter, and what'll happen is these like to go kaboom and let a bunch of smoke out. So they're ticking time bombs. I don't have one to replace this with, so I'm probably going to just leave it in here. But it's probably, you know, going to explode at any moment. So we're not going to worry about it for now. Let's get this stuff removed and check it out of circuit and see what's going on here. Well, I actually ended up having a bag of 4 of these transistors. However, 2 of them, if you see here again, is let's see, 2N3055. I've got a couple of these. 2N3055, 2N0355. However, I also have a couple of these NTE 180s. Now the NTE 180s are basically a the exact same as these, and I think the NTE 180, I should say, is a more modern equivalent. I can't say through some research, but these are all the same form, fit, and function. So I'm going to use an NTE 180. And as you see here, if I read this, I also got an HOT for K7000, so hopefully that'll work, but I do need to use an insulator because you can see this one has exposed back, whereas the original does not, and it sits up against the heatsink, so I'm going to have to use an insulator for that. But if we look at the NTE 180, it reads differently from what you'd expect. So instead of having the negative on here, you want to put your positive on the base, and then touch one leg should be nothing, and the other leg should be 0.5 voltage drop. There you go, 0.5. So that's basically how this voltage regulator functions. So I'm going to use the NTE 180, and we're going to throw away our, well, set aside our shorted one, along with our shorted HOT. And of course our new HOT tests good, one leg and the other. See how, so on this one you see how one leg reads 0.5, there's our voltage drop, the other one is 0.4. Now some HOTs will read to each leg like this, and other ones will only read to one leg. You'll have one that'll read to one leg, this will be your voltage drop, this leg will be nothing. So it's important to get the correct HOT. Now I'm assuming since this all uses K7000 stuff that I should be able to use this. Well, we'll find out. Worst case scenario, it blows and we have to replace it and find the right one. So we'll perform a little experimentation here for everyone's benefit. All right, so here's my bag. And we'll take these and put these back in here. And let's, I'm gonna get this stuff installed back in the chassis. The new HOT, I'm sorry, the new voltage, HOT voltage regulator flyback. This is a flyback. I'll get the flyback installed as well. I'll get it cleaned up here. I'll get some alcohol on it and my brush and get it all cleaned up. And then we'll get all this stuff installed and see what it does. So here we go. Well, I figure in case this does work, I want to go ahead and show the part number of this. This is that one that I pulled out that Cortec T&E that I'm going to use in here for testing. And it looks like it's KFS 60291. So in case these flybacks aren't available, let's see, this is part number, I don't know, TCA 50 Bravo 07. That's the only identifier that's on here. So in case this works, I wanted to document the part number. So it's KFS 60291. And it actually fits in there quite nicely. Put this in here. I had it in here once, then I thought, well, I should probably document the part number. Oh, come on. It went right in. Why is it not going in now? There we go. No? Why are you fighting me on this? Well, I'll get it in, trust me, it fits. Just hang on a second. Alright, I finally got it to seat down in there. So you can see that it sits in there. It fits in there just nice. It's a bit more off-center this way than what it used to be with the other one. You can see how it's kind of off-center from the other one, but it fits in there perfectly. You can see if all the feet are through. It's the same footprint all around, so it should work, in theory. Of course, that's why this is the amateur channel. I didn't bother to look at the schematics or drawings. I'm assuming because this is a Korean Cortec knockoff that it should work. It's the same form, fit, function, the same footprint, the same size. It fits right in there. So in theory, it should work. And we're going to find out together if it explodes or if it works. So, I mean, we're not really going to be any worse off than we were because, A, it was completely dead before. And worst case scenario, it's completely dead after. So I still have other parts we can use in case something explodes again. But this should be the final step, and then we can hook it up and turn it on. Let's see here. Let me turn my fan on here. Alright, I think that'll work. Let me take a closer inspection here. Yep, that should be alright. I will clean it up afterward, but that should work. We got our HOT soldered in, and we got our voltage regulator installed, and it's soldered in. And we can test it in circuit again as we did prior. Let's test our HOT. Which are this one here and here. Why aren't you working? There we go. 0.4 and 0.4. 461 and 461. Outstanding. Just what it should be. Then we have our voltage regulator. Again, we just go to our B plus resistor. It should read 220 ohms like I talked about before. There you go. 219 point, oh, look at that. A closer reading we could not get. So 220.9. And just for shits and grins here, let's go to diode mode and we'll test the case. And like I said before, you should have 0.5 and then I think I said 0.15, 0.5 to one leg. There's our 0.5, and then 0.15 to the other leg. 0.18. That's because we're reading through the resistor. So basically, that's 200 ohms. So yeah, you should have your B plus resistor through the transistor on one leg, which is what we have right there, and then our voltage drop to the other one, right there. So I need to hook these wires back up to the neck board. We've got our focus wire. Oh, I gotta put this on here. And let's get our focus wire soldered in. Alright, that should be good. Give it a second. It's nice and secure. Alright. Really? Come on. Okay. And then our G2 wire, which just goes right through here. Got it. Okay, boys and girls. Let's not forget to hook up our remote board. And I think we're ready. So let's get a tube and cross our fingers and see what happens. Well, here we go. It's all hooked up. We got a K7000 tube. I've just got the yoke connections kind of precariously slaved in there because I told you that about that odd connector there. So it's all hooked up there. We got our power here. The connector is right here, and I only have a old yoke connector that I was able to get on here to fit, and then it goes right into, just kind of piggybacked into here. So it's safe. It's all hooked up. We got anode, neck, yoke, ground, power, remote board, but no video because I don't want to send a signal through and damage my board. So, as they say, or to quote the tagline from Star Trek The Motion Picture, the human adventure is just beginning. So, here we go. Cross your fingers here. Hold your breath. 1, 2, 3. Dead. What in tarnation? How could this still be dead? Wow. I got power hooked up. I tested. I got the fuse holder replaced and fixed. The fuses were good. We're hooked up to the correct connection for power. I checked to make sure that the header pins were good for the power. That's good. Maybe our reefer cap exploded. But even with this out of the circuit, it should still power up. It's just a filter cap. It should still turn on even with that being blown up. Well, it's time to take it back off the tube and test power circuit diodes and who knows what else. But nothing happened. We didn't short anything or destroy anything because absolutely nothing happened. We are plugged in. I am hooked up. And everything is installed. Let's try again. 1, 2, 3. Nothing. PCB is on. Nothing is happening. I hear nothing. I see nothing. Well, let's take it back off, do some more testing, see what we can find. Well, I did some poking around and I found a couple of issues. This resistor here that goes across, it says R02. It's supposed to be 2 ohms, 10 watt 2 ohm resistor. 10 watts, 2 ohms. Well, that's not what it reads. It reads 24 megohm. That's no good. So we have a bad resistor here. Now I don't have one that's 2 ohms. I don't have one that's 10 watts, 2 ohms, but I do have one that's 7 watts, 2.7 ohm. If we look here, I have, this is actually R103 from the K7000. So for testing purposes, this will be okay. I'll have to order the correct one. So if this fixes it, I'll have to order the correct one. But you can see here it's 7 watts, 2.7 ohms. 7 watt, R is 0.7. So it's going to be fine for testing purposes. So I found that problem. We had an open resistor for all intents and purposes. And then this transistor here that's attached to our wires for our voltage regulator. These are our 3 wires here, base, emitter, collector for our voltage regulator that we already changed out. And they go right to this resistor here, Q02. And if we go to our diode setting and we test Q02, from here to here, it's shorted. This leg is open. So we had a bad Q, what is that? I'm sorry, yeah, Q02. So this is all I've found so far. A couple of those. Now if we go to Q02 and we test this again, it's this guy right here. I believe it should be, is it this way? I think it's this way. Yeah, 0.6 voltage drop and 0.6 voltage drop. And if we check the one that's right here next to it, that's the same type of transistor, this guy right here, Q03, this one right there, you can see it's the same part number. So we go here to here, there we go, 0.6 and 0.6. So those are the only things that I found so far poking around on this, and that would make sense as to why it's totally dead if this main resistor here was open. It comes right off, if you follow it here, it comes right off the voltage regulator. These are our 3 wires for base emitter collector for our voltage regulator. And you can see here, if you follow this trace, it goes right to one leg of that resistor. I was trying to push the wire through and scraped here. Sorry, I'll fix that later. But this is across our resistor here. So with this resistor being open, essentially our output from our voltage regulator was coming straight through to here and not getting through the resistor to the rest of the circuit. Is that even... It does not attach to the reefer cap, so that's good. That goes to across our diodes here for our rectifier circuit. So now I'm confident it's probably going to be okay now. So let's get that back on the tube and try again. Okay, take two. We got anode neck, yoke ground, power, and remote. And we have our yoke connections all slaved in there, hooked up properly. We got power hooked up. So let's see what happens this time. 1, 2, 3. Oh! Flyback transformer just made a horrible noise. Something appears to still be bad or shorted. Let's try again. Nope. Oh. Well, something's still shorted. Let's see, take number 3, what we can find. Alright, well I spent about 30 minutes going over this, every single diode resistor component. I couldn't find anything else that was out of spec or wrong, except for this one resistor and the Q02 over here we talked about before. So that being said, I couldn't find anything wrong. So I thought, well, you know, it's possible that this flyback that I put in was not compatible. So I have reinstalled the original, but I also took my soldering iron and used it to burn the plastic shut, if that makes sense. We saw the face of this before, and I just took my iron and flattened it out. It's dirty because the tip of the iron was dirty, but I was able to, there's still a bit of solder there. That's all right though. But I took my iron and kind of, well, literally ironed this flat, and I was able to close the hole and the gap and make it all nice and flat again using the heat, and kind of quote-unquote plastic weld this all back shut. So it's no longer exposed, and I'm confident that this has to be it. This has to be the solution, because I don't know if this flyback is compatible or not, you know, and I have no idea if, you know, if there was something else wrong, if the voltage regulator had gone out again, or the HOT had shorted, or something else was wrong, it still wouldn't read good. And I verified that everything is still reading good properly. So with everything else testing okay, not finding any more of the transistors bad, or resistors, or components, or anything. I mean, it could be caps, I imagine, but I don't see any of them bulging. None of them had obvious signs of leakage. So I'm fairly confident just putting the original flyback in is probably going to fix it. I don't think that this is probably compatible, even though it's a Cortec. And this is the, you know, A1, you know, get out of here, A1 Korean version, you know, what have you. It may not be compatible. So I got the original one back in. So let's get it on tube and see if that allows it to power up now. Well, hopefully third time's the charm here. I got everything hooked back up, anode neck, yoke ground, power, and remote board. Kind of precariously, you know, wires are just plugged in, slaved in like before for power and yoke, and everything else hooked up. So if the same thing still happens, I don't have an answer at this moment. I'll have to do some more research and probably come back at a later time and just finish the video up then. If it does power up, then I'll consider it a success, and we'll see if we have an image and what it looks like. Okay, well, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Yes! Ha ha ha! Doesn't sound very good. Well, I'm going to turn it off. It is working. Nice! I guess that proves our theory that the K7000 HOT will work in this. That's awesome. So the NT, what was it? NT240? 180. The NT180 is a compatible replacement for the voltage regulator, and the 1398, I believe it is a compatible replacement for the HOT. Where are you at? Hiding right there. So interesting. We're learning stuff. That's what this is all about. So I guess since it works now, let's. Well, I guess we've proven that this is not compatible. We both learned that together. Let's go ahead and get our video plugged in. Oh, of course it's on the other side. It's stupid way they do this here. I gotta wrap my cable around here. All right. Let's see what happens now. Here we go. Would you look at that? Oh, wow. What's going on there? We are, first of all, we're way too wide and contrast is too high. Why is it doing that? We could have bad caps. Okay, so we are making progress. Really good progress here. It's working. It needs some very good adjustment, but see how it's wobbly? Look at this. Oh. Yeah. Well, I should be using my test pattern generator here, as somebody pointed out in the comment. But yes, it's... So let's go ahead and cap it. I don't have a cap kit for this. I'll see if I can piece one together with what I've got on hand, and then we'll see if that fixes this problem. It may be the filter cap. Usually this kind of situation is caused by a filter cap, but it could be regular caps. So let's go ahead and cap it now that we're on the road to success. See what we get from that point. The center isn't... it's doing it in the middle, I guess, but on the sides, it's real bad. Yeah. So alright, so let's go ahead and turn it off before it explodes again. Let me do a full cap kit. We'll come back and see how it looks at that point. Alright, so using my 2 bags of random assorted caps that I have as extras for just this type of occasion, I was able to successfully do a full, complete, entire cap kit without having to steal some caps from other complete cap kits. So I have a whole bunch of extra caps, and I was able to source them all together. I even had the proper 160 volt 3.3 microfarad, which is a rare one. I had one I found in this pile of caps here, so I was able to get a full cap kit, full reflow, another inspection, made sure nothing else was wrong that I might have missed. I got all the color pots set to center on the neck board and the RGB input for the main board, and got it all cleaned up and ready for testing. So let's put our caps away. And I do need to reinstall the cover over the voltage regulator. There we go, get in there. Gosh darn it. Nothing's ever easy. Get in there, you rat bastard. There we go. Alright, so let's take a look. I need to put a zip tie on that cover there, but I even had the filter cap, if you believe that or not. I actually had the correct filter cap too. So we got that done, we got the whole chassis cleaned up. I do need a couple, okay, so I'll go back here, I need to mention some stuff. But we got all the caps installed, everything is correct, all oriented properly for the... I verified that none of them were backwards on the silk screen, so everything is good there. So we got everything ready to go for testing to make sure that it's working still and our jittery image is gone. So I did find that this cap right here is 607. Here's the original cap that was in that location. It's a 200 volt 47. I put a what did I put in there? 200 volt 47. So out of all the caps that I took off of here, that one, which is this one, was leaking. If we look here, you can see that was leaking pretty good. Not too bad, but still pretty good. That was the only cap like that. All the rest of them were, you know, like this. Not really that bad. So this was the only cap that was leaking, and it just so happens that this cap is attached to the power section, which is in line with the ground, and also goes to here, which are the 2 input wires that come right to our fuse. So this is part of the power supply section as well, and I'm fairly confident that this leaky cap is the cause of our jittery image, or I mean it could be another cap, but I'm fairly confident that it was that one that was bad. So yeah, let's get it hooked back up and see how much better it looks, and call it a success. But assuming that this is better and I can get this looking good and we can call it a complete repair, I do need off camera. I'm going to have to research and eventually replace the flyback, because this this repair I did where I just melted the plastic to kind of close up the hole and the damage that was done to allow it to work. It's probably going to just punch through again, either right there or somewhere else. So this is basically a temporary fix. I need to do some research and find the correct flyback. I also need to order the correct resistor here. It's I put the 7 watt 2.7 ohm in there. It should be a 10 watt 2 ohm. So this will work for testing and everything, making sure everything works. But off camera, I'm going to have to do some research and order the correct resistor. I also need to research and find out what the correct rating of fuses are. The fuse over here in this fuse, I don't think 3 amp is the right rating. I think it is supposed to be probably about 2 amp because the K7000 is 2 amp. So I think that both of these being 3 amp might be overrated. I don't want to send this back to the customer with overrated fuses. That's probably why the voltage regulator and the HOT got taken out, as well as this resistor, and neither one of the fuses went because they're overrated. So I need to research and find out the fuses and this resistor and the flyback. But otherwise, it's going to work just fine for now for testing, for us to be able to call it a successful repair. And let's go ahead and get it hooked up, and hopefully the 4th time is the charm. So let's see what happens. Well, we're all hooked up, ready for testing again, final testing if you will. And I was able to get a new connector here for power. We've got all of our yoke connections precariously installed. Everything is good to go. Anode, neck, yoke, ground, video, power, and remote board. And this time I'm using a test pattern generator so we can get a stable image just to see what's happening. I'll have to put you on the tripod here because I'm going to have to climb in here with my head and look back here and try and adjust these from stuck back in here because it's just a terrible design being able to try and adjust those. So I'll have to put you up on the tripod here, but first let's go ahead and turn it on, make sure that nothing explodes from the work that I did with all the reflow and the caps and everything, and make sure nothing happens and we're still working. And then we'll put it on the tripod and see if we can make some adjustments and get this looking good. So I got this towel here to block the light once it's on the tripod because my light here is below the tip, the edge of the workbench, so you can see it's visible. You've seen the videos before, so let's go ahead and see what we get now. Hopefully it still works. So 1, 2, 3. It does turn on, and there we go. Wow, we need some super adjustments here. We'll start with, let's see, we will start with brightness and contrast all the way down. If I can get to this here, brightness. I can't see. Video bias. Video bias, I guess, is contrast. Whoop, that's the wrong way. Contrast. Oh, it's opposite. Imagine that. So the brightness pot, what a hunk of junk. The brightness pot, you turn it all the way to the right to turn it down, which is opposite, and the contrast pot's all the way to the left like normal. So this is insane. Do I have, looks like I'm missing colors here. No, I got all the colors. Nope. Well, I do. I have red, but it's very dim. Let's move our H position. I can't see. So there's H position, roughly there. Oh, and I didn't even notice we don't have our jittery image anymore, so I think our cap kit fixed that problem. We are kind of, well, I'm kind of wavy here, but I don't know if that's a linearity issue. I'm not really too worried about that yet, but let's turn up our red and see if we actually have a good red. Yeah, red's good. Turn blue down a bit, turn our green up. Let's turn our flyback. So brightness is all the way down right now. Contrast is all the way down. If we turn it up, it gets kind of crazy there. We'll leave it right there. I gotta go on the opposite side here. Let's see. This tube is old and tired, so it's hard to get a good approximation of what this is going to look like, because like I say, this tube is kind of on its last leg. I've already rejuvenated it and it doesn't take, so well, that's all the green we're going to get. I think that's all the red we're going to get too. I do need to try and adjust my flyback here, which is going to be tough to get to. I can't get to it. Hang on, I'll have to get the other side here. Focus. That looks good. And let's put our flyback right there. And our contrast. That's odd. It's going to have to sit about there. Brightness. Oh, we'll have to sit about there. Yeah, that's pretty dim. Well, I'm going to attribute it to this crappy tube, but don't worry too much about it. I do need to move the position again here, just slightly. Man, I mean, we've lost red, almost all of red. So these stupid things are, one's different from the next. I don't know which way is up, which way is down, because one will turn left, one will turn right to adjust it. I wonder if our red transistor is going out, because we basically just lost all of our red. Yeah, I got no red now. My red has completely faded away. Very interesting. So all of my color pots are now back to center. Oh, sorry, I almost lost you there. And I basically have zero red. My red is gone. It went away completely now. So, I'm just touching the transistors here. There's blue, green, yep, red does not. See, I'm touching the frame of the transistor here. So there's, you can see green. I'm just tapping it with my finger. There's blue. Tapping it with my finger, and red is dead. We got nothing. Well, let's go back to the drawing board here and see what we can figure out with the red. Alright, it's show and tell time. So here I have the resistors for the RGB that are on the neck board here. They're normally in this location, and you can see just how burned up this location is. Oh, darn it. Get up here, you. Okay, let's try this again. So you can see just how burned up this area is. It's, yeah, pretty hot. And if we check our resistors here, they all three read something different. We got, this one is 9.8K. This one is 5.8K, and this one is 12.2K. You can't even see what I'm doing here. Sorry about that. Yeah, this one is 12.2. This one is, I almost did it again here. This one's 9.8 something, or 5.8. And this one is 9.8. So we got our three color resistors are all different ratings, so that's no good. And then if we check our actual transistors, we had, I think it was red, green, blue, if I recall correctly. Because if I go to, let's say, the blue one here, and let's zoom in. If I go to the blue one and we do center, where are you at here? I think it's this one. Center to this leg is our voltage drop, and our other leg is 0.9. Now let's go to the green one. We go from here to this leg. There's our voltage drop. Other leg, 0.9. Now if we go to the red one, from center to here, we get our voltage drop. Other leg, 0.9. So all of our transistors should be good. The reason that we lost our red and slowly lost our red is as these heated up from being cold, I think they slowly went so far out of tolerance or so high in the resistance reading that I completely lost the red. And I don't remember which one was which. I already took them out already. But all of our transistors should be good because they all read the same. So I don't think it's a transistor problem. I think our problem with our colors, our weak colors, is these bad resistors. So I need to find out, I need to go look up the circuit, see if I can find it, and find out what the rating of the fuses are supposed to be, and find out what the rating of these resistors are supposed to be, because all of them are different, so I have no idea what they're supposed to be. So let me go see if I can find what the rating of these resistors are supposed to be, and I'll get some installed that are the correct rating, and then we will see if I have a better picture, because all of my color pots have been turned back to center, as I mentioned. The main board, let me turn the main board back. And what I was saying earlier was, like, I was turning, it's a bit odd to see because I could turn the red to the left and it would go up instead of down. I would turn the green to the left and it would go down instead of up, and blue I'd turn left and it would go up. So I was turning these pots and one would go up when I turned one way, other would go down when I turned the same way. It was very, very odd. Same thing with our pots here. I think the color bias pot is another word for contrast. When I turned the brightness pot all the way to the right, instead of going up, it would go down. When I turned this one all the way to the right, it would go up and down instead of up. It was backwards. So I think also our contrast issues that would cause the screen to get brighter when I would turn it up or down, whatever the case may have been, I think are also related to this. So let me find out what they're supposed to be. We'll get the correct ones in there and see if that makes this better. Well, it's actually the next day here because it got rather late last night and it was getting just a big cluster here trying to adjust stuff, and just it wasn't working out. So I just kind of called it a night at that point, and now it's the next day. And I found out I could not find a schematic for this. So just looking at the color bands, if we look here, the color bands are, let's see if we can get a better image here. Okay, there you go. Green, blue, red, gold. And green, blue, red, gold is 5.6K. These are 5.6K 1 watt resistors. So I looked through my stash and couldn't find any, but I did find on a Hanner X Polo parts chassis that I have, I found some 6.8K. So I installed three 6.8K 5 watt resistors, so those should not have any problem handling the heat and the operation. Even though they're 6.8K versus 5.6, they should work just fine. So I got those installed. One of these actually read, if we recall, 5.6 correctly. The other one was 9.8 and 12 point something. So two of them were way out of spec. One of them was actually correct. I think it might have been the blue one. But green was soft, and we slowly lost our red, and that's because as these heated up, they just went out of spec, and that was all she wrote on that. So those are all bad. I ordered some correct resistors. I got them on the way. I ordered five. I ordered five 5.6K ohm 5 watt resistors. So I have the correct ratings on the way, so that'll be resolved once they get here. But we still have a problem, and I'll explain here in a minute. I don't know if I should just show you, or I'll talk about it first here. So if you recall, when we had the actual high impact board running, the image was all wavy, and I thought it was that bad capacitor, that leaky capacitor, but it turns out that was not the case. After we repaired all this, I decided to use the test pattern generator instead of the actual PCB, and the waviness was gone. Like, hey, that cap was the problem. Well, it wasn't, because if you go back and look, you'll see that the image was kind of bowed and it had a wave to it. in the color bars. So I put the original PCB back in on the video input, and the waviness was all back. So that's why I like to use an actual PCB when testing this stuff, to get a better idea of real world situation, as opposed to this. And this is a good case in point, is because the waviness is not present with this, although it does have a bit of a wave in the image, which I'll show. But when you use an actual PCB, it's just all fluttering around. So I don't know what's causing that. That'll be a little bit more troubleshooting to have to do on this. But in the meantime, I did change out the 3 amp fuses to a 2 amp on each one, because I could not find a schematic for this particular board. So I went ahead and assumed, based off how this is, you know, K7000 compatible, quote unquote, I went ahead and just put 2 amp fuses in, and I put the 3 amps over there because I'm sure they were high. They were too high of rating. And I also ordered original replacement HOT and original replacement voltage regulator and a correct 2 ohm 10 watt resistor to replace this one, because I don't know if the waviness that you're about to see is caused by any of these parts not being the correct ones. Like I have the K7000 R103 in here for the 2 ohm 10 watt resistor, and the K7000 HOT, and I have the NTE 180 voltage regulator in there instead of the 3055. So I don't know if any of that is causing the waviness, but I ordered all of those original parts. We're gonna put those in at a later time once they arrive and see if that fixes this. But for now, let me show you the oddity that's happening here. So if I was to actually turn this on, oh, hold on, I don't have it plugged in, sorry. Like I say, it's the next day here. There we go. Now let's turn this on. All right, comes right on. Test pattern generator is on, we're all hooked up, and as we can see here, we have a decent picture, not bad. If we go to our color bars, we have all of our colors now, and they're much better. But you can see that there's a wave here. It kind of comes inwards there slightly, and as you go down, it even goes even more in. Over here, you can really see the red, how it comes down and bows out and goes back in. So we have a wave here of linearity issues, and I don't think this is exactly compatible with the K7000 because it's kind of stretched here, as you can see. But if I bring the image down, it fixes the stretch here, but doesn't fix this wave. But you can see the picture is nice and stable. Putting those new resistors in off of the Henrix Polo brought our colors back, and it's working just fine now. But if I scroll through here and I get to our conversion screen, look at this. Look at how it's just crooked. It's really bad up and down here, how crooked this is and bowed in. Even on the center is kind of bowed in. Over here is really bad. So, but you can see here it's a nice stable picture, even though that it's bowed. But check this out. If I turn this off and disconnect the image, it's just a that's very interesting. There's no 50 or 60 hertz pot that I'm aware of on this. That's interesting. Anyway, so if we hook up an actual image from a PCB, look what it's doing now. Look at what's happening here. It's doing a hula. And I've already replaced the filter cap. So it's not the filter cap. Whoa, 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 whoa. Let me see if I can, there's a good example here. You can see it's just dancing around. And I'm not sure what's causing this. Like I say, all the caps have been changed, full reflow, including filter cap. So I'm a little bit mystified as to what's happening here with this, because this does not happen with the test pattern generator. You saw, even it was wavy, but it was a stable image. This is moving all around like this. If I start a game here, there we go. You can really see what's happening here. It's way too blue, but I can turn the blue down. Anyway, so yeah, I don't understand what's causing this. So this is the next step in the troubleshooting, is to try and figure out what's going on here. Let me disconnect this and hook our test pattern generator back up. And I gotta put the sink in there. There we go. Turn this back on, and it's looking good, and it's stable. It's a stable image, even though it is bowed and like before. But why is it stable with this and wavy with a real board? That makes no sense to me. So I ordered all of the correct original replacement parts, and I'll wait for those to arrive. I'm going to put those in here and see if that fixes this, because maybe this has something to do with the HOT. Even though it's compatible, maybe there's something different with it. I don't think so. Maybe it's the fact that we're 2.7 ohms versus 2 ohms, and 7 watts versus 10 watt. Maybe it has something to do with that transistor I replaced there, the NPN one, or PNP, I don't know which one it is. It's definitely not the resistors, and it could be the voltage regulator that I replaced. It could be maybe the 3055 is what this needs to have versus the NTE180, even though it works. I don't know. So I ordered all the replacement parts to put back in here that came from this from the factory, and we'll see if that makes any difference. But it does look really good for what it is. However, like I say, you can see it's a fully, completely stable image. It's not wobbling around or nothing. And if I put the original, or hook an actual PCB back up, it gets all wonky again. I have no answer for that. So what we're going to do is I will end this video here, because the important things have been fixed. We've got it up and running and working now from being totally, completely dead. So everything is now operational and running. I'll have to make a part 2 once these components get in, and we'll throw those in here and do further troubleshooting and see what else we can find. This could be something with the tube or the yoke incompatibility. I don't know, but I don't think so. I think this is some type of chassis problem, but the main head scratcher is, why does this not happen with this, but it does happen with a board? This is 2 boards now that has the same problem. The high impact did the same thing. I wanted to see if it was a high impact board problem, so I threw in this Arkanoid board, and as you can see, it's not a PCB. There's something not happy. It's happy with this and but not this. I don't know. I've reseated the U01 there in the socket. I've reseated that. That didn't do anything. I verified all of the pots are good. Wiped them back and forth. It's not a pot problem. It has to be, it's not a cap problem. All the caps are exactly the same rating and voltages and microfarads and everything that were original. So it's not the wrong cap in the wrong spot and the wrong rating issue. It's none of that. Full reflow. It's not a solder point problem. I mean, if it was, this would happen with this as well. I'm at a loss. So if you guys have any idea, throw a comment and let me know. But we're going to end this video on this part here, and then we'll pick up with a part 2 with further troubleshooting later. We will further troubleshoot later, I should say, with when I get all of my original parts back in, and see if putting all the original parts back in from the factory makes this go away. But otherwise, I mean, it's a good picture. It looks good. It's just doing this stupid wave now. So, I don't know. Throw a comment down and let me know what you think. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the second part. Actually, this might be the first 2-parter that I'm doing, because I don't know when these parts will arrive. There's no reason not to post the progress report so far. Just very interesting. So, yeah, and as this is running, we notice that our red's nice and vibrant. It's not fading away, and our resistors aren't smoking or anything, and they're not burning up. So the higher watt, I think putting a higher wattage in here will actually keep that from happening in the future and burning up the ones that I replaced. Like I say, I think the original ones were 1 watt, and I ordered some 5 watts. So we'll get the correct rating in there with the higher wattage. Hopefully they won't burn up anymore. But this is working great except for this. So stay tuned for part 2. We'll see if I can figure out what's causing this, and hopefully it'll work out. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching.